What's up, everybody? This your boy Tez. Look, man, I got a lot to talk about today, a lot to discuss, but I'm gonna make it real short and simple. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I've been working in the trucking industry right now for about 6 months. I first started off back in November, I think. I was dispatching for my granddad. He's a owner operator for Landstar, right? And when I moved from the West Coast and I moved back south, he basically approached me. He was like, "Hey man, you want to make some money? You want a new hustle?" I was like, "Sure." So he basically started paying me by the week to dispatch for him. And I never been interested in the trucking industry, the logistics industry. I used to ride with my granddad all the time when I was a kid going across country, but I never understood exactly what he did and how he did it until I started dispatching for him. So over time, man, I just started dispatching for him, and I just found a strong passion and love for trucking and the logistics industry, period. Because it just was business 101. It just felt like I was utilizing all my skill sets and all the knowledge that I learned in school with this trucking business, because I was more than a dispatcher for my granddad. I was doing the accounting, the finances, you know, I was reviewing how much he made every week and making sure, we were doing the correct cent per mile. I was building a relationship with brokers, shippers, and agents. And I was all over the place, man, but I found such a strong passion and a love for it that I was like, dang, man, I really want to do this as a business. Because prior to me becoming a dispatcher for my granddad, I was lost. I had just finished my master's degree in business psychology. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was stuck. I was working a job at a retail store making $12 an hour, $300 a week. I was ashamed, man. I was going through a lot, and I just needed some purpose and fulfillment in my life. And my granddad brought that to me by providing me with this dispatcher side hustle. So as months went by, man, I approached my granddad with the idea of, I want to start my own authority. My granddad owns 2 trucks, but he's an owner operator for Landstar, so they taking a 35% cut on everything that he do. And that is ridiculous. It's stupid, man, because he losing out on so much money every single week on every single load. And once you do the math at the end of the year, man, you won't believe how much money he ended up losing. So pretty much, man, I approached my granddad with the idea of starting my own authority, letting him lease his trucks on to me, and basically us becoming business partners. I cut him a percentage, get me a percentage, we be partners, and we make it do what it do, and we expand from there. I'm sitting here thinking it was going to be easy. I'm thinking the process was going to be simple because it didn't require much risk for me. My granddad owned the trucks. They were paid. One of them was paid for, and he's still making payments on the other truck. So I'm thinking there's no risk to me. I don't have to really put in much because you leasing your trucks on to me. I'm just giving you the work. I'm using your equipment. So I thought it wasn't much risk to me. I was being naive. I was green to the industry. I didn't know what I was doing. So in the process of all this dispatching and everything, COVID-19 just started to take its toll on everything. It started to get ridiculous because we were putting about $3,000 a week before COVID. With COVID, things got so slow, things got so bad. And I got laid off from my job. I got put on furlough. And I was like, man, what the How much worse can it get, you know? But it was a complete blessing for me because when I got laid off from my job, I was able to get much time back to work on dispatching for my granddad. So I was out of work for about a whole month. And I just started to, you know, I pretty much just started to take this serious, take trucking industry serious, take dispatching seriously. And I just started every single day, man. I was calling up brokers, calling up agents, booking loads. I was going extra hard than I were before. And we had 2 great weeks throughout the COVID pandemic. And I decided to muscle up the strength because I took COVID-19 as a lesson, man. COVID-19 taught me that tomorrow isn't promised. You can be dead, snap of a finger. Your 9 to 5 isn't promised. That's not going to do you any good anyway. And that was never my ambition. That was never my dream to be a worker. I got my bachelor's degree in entrepreneurial studies and I got my master's degree in business psychology. So I was like, man, something got to give. I never had a idea of what type of business I wanted to start. Of course, I was interested in a sports business when I started going into college, but I tried my hand at that, and man, that just wasn't working for me. So I just became lost. And I know I'm going all over the place, but I eventually, you know, hit my mark. You know, I was taking trucking serious, and I just muscle up the strength to apply for my authority. $300 for that. Got my LLC started. I had somebody do that for me because I needed a statutory agent. I know how to do an LLC on my own, but I needed a statutory agent. So I just hired Northwest registered agent to file the paperwork for me and be my registered agent at the same time. So that was about $400, I think. I got my domain name. That was another, I think that was around $20, $30. So I invested so much money and time and energy into starting my own authority until stuff started to get real. I started to get them calls from the insurance companies, started to get the calls from the factoring companies and the quick pay companies and everybody else. Insurance is the biggest expense in the trucking industry. Insurance is no joke, man. It's nothing to play with. And it really can put you in a hole if you don't approach it the smart way. So I started reaching out to insurance companies trying to get a good quote. And I don't have a CDL license, you know. Like I said, I mainly got into the business because of my granddad. And even if I wanted to, I couldn't go get my CDL because of my vision. But that's another story for another day. So basically went through the whole process. Tried to get the insurance. Quotes were ridiculous. I couldn't get a quote from a small company. I had to rely on Progressive because a big problem that we were running into in the company was the business was based in Arizona, but my granddad is a licensed CDL driver and both of his trucks are registered in Georgia because we are from Georgia. But I live in Arizona because this is where I went to school at. So that's the big roadblock we kept running into. And for those out there, when you are starting your authority or your trucking authority, make sure you're just doing everything in the same state, because it is difficult trying to have your business headquartered in one state while your vehicles, your equipment, and your drivers are in a different state, especially when you're starting out. I don't know how things work once you get up in business as the years go by, but it was a pain for us to even get a quote because of that. So many independent companies couldn't help us out, so we had to rely on Progressive. And long story short, man, Progressive hit us with such a high rate. And I started to put the numbers together. I found out my granddad, he never told me this before, but the payment that he's making on his one truck that he don't own yet, was $1,900 a month. I did the math because our insurance was going to be $1,500 a month for both trucks. I put the numbers together for about a whole 2 weeks, and I couldn't come up with a way for us to make money in the trucking industry, man. It was just too much overhead coming into the game. My granddad, he didn't care, but I cared. When you approaching business, having too much overhead, that's dumb, man. You don't want to do that. So, and I knew that, because I look at a lot of you truckers out there on YouTube, and I take a lot. I don't take what you say for long, but I do, apply some of the things y'all say to my own situation and what I was trying to do as far as my authority. And man, let's just say the overhead, when I put all the numbers together, it was ridiculous. The business wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. So eventually I was able to find out a way for us to make money. And I found out a way it was going to be working, but my pockets were thin. I just moved back to the West Coast from Alabama. And man, my pocket was too thin. I found out the startup, before we can even begin operations, I was going to have to come out my pocket with about 10,000 bands. And I couldn't do that, man. I couldn't do it. I don't have no $9,000, $10,000. Because I had to go get the trailers. We don't own any trailers. We just own the truck. So I would have had to go get the trailers. And I'm not stupid enough to go out there and spend all that money taking out all these loans. Because I hate debt. I hate owing people. I'm more of a debt-free man. But I would have did it if it wasn't for that high truck payment. But even outside the truck payment, once I put in the other numbers, like the other expenses, like load boards and factoring and paying the brokers, I consider all of that stuff. I just found out it wouldn't work, man. It just wouldn't work. It wasn't a smart thing to do, not at this time anyway. My pockets are thin. Plus, you got this COVID stuff going on. We don't have any direct shippers, even though he's an owner-operator now. We don't have any direct relationship with shippers. We just working off the load board 24/7. So, just wasn't the right time, man. So, I gave up. I was about to quit. I was about to throw everything away. All the money that I put into the LLC, the authority, I was just going to put it on the back burner. And I was just going to say, forget it. So, what happened was, I always kept this thought in the back of my mind. If semi-trucking don't work, I can convert the cargo vans and box trucks. That was my mentality. There was a thought that I came up with a while ago when I was dispatching, but I didn't really take heed to it until now. So pretty much, man, after a while, I just started to think. I talked to my mentor and I talked to my wife. They were just telling me, don't give up. Keep going. Find an alternative. Be creative. Don't quit trucking in the logistics industry as a whole because you got such a strong passion for it. You love what you do. Don't quit it as a whole. But just go do it, man. Just be creative with it. That's when I purchased this cargo van, because this is something I could afford. This is where we at today. I'm not going to disclose the plan. I'm not going to disclose the business structure. But I'm going to tell you this right here. If the original plan don't work, don't quit. Be creative. Find an alternative. Because I was right on the edge of quitting. And now that I got this van, I'm willing to go all in. Stay focused. God bless. 100.